So I said we'd be talking about two trades in this video. That is exactly what we're going to be doing here. Yeah, I had to get the two trades kind of soundbite in there just because it's a fun thing to do. But we're talking about a bunch of teams from different divisions here. The Seattle Kraken, the Minnesota Wild, and we also have a move between the Blue Jackets and the Panthers to dive into here. The Kraken have acquired forward Frederick Gaudreau from the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a 2025 fourth-round pick, which will be the 102nd overall pick. Frederick Gaudreau had 3 years remaining at $2.1 million AAV. Now, the interesting thing about this trade is that it's kind of obvious to see where both teams are coming from. The Minnesota Wild are freeing up that cap space. 3 years left at $2.1 million is not insignificant. And the Kraken are getting themselves a very versatile, veteran-esque forward, a 6 feet, 183-pound right-handed center who is 32 years old and signed on till he'll be 35? Yeah, 35. Frederick Gaudreau had 37 points in 82 games this most recent season. Now, he has had more productive years in the past. That 44-point season stands out in 76 games in 21-22. But Frederick Gaudreau, after developing with the Nashville Predators system, being an up-and-down NHL, AHL guy with them for so long, inevitably found himself a role with the Pittsburgh Penguins and then was sent over to Minnesota, where he has been nothing short of a decent to good hockey player. I say decent because this season last year, 23-24, was a really bad year for Gaudreau in particular. 15 points in 67 games played and a -23. He did bounce back to a significant capacity the year after, doubled his point production, and was only a -2 this time. He also tripled his goal output, which is great to see. But now, Frederick Gaudreau is heading over to a Seattle Kraken squad that has just been tinkering and moving things around on their forward core. You take a look at some of the other moves that Seattle has ended up making. I mean, they just acquired Mason Marchment. They just sent away... Did they send away Burakovsky? I think so, right? They just traded him the other day, I think. Burakovsky. Yeah, did we make a video about that? No, I don't think that we did. Burakovsky over to the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, that is exactly what happened. He was traded just 6 days ago. So they sent him away. They grabbed Marchment. They now get themselves Frederick Gaudreau. This Kraken team wants to make themselves hard to play against. And with names like Tolvanen, Marchment, Gaudreau, that's definitely going to be the case in here. I wanted to tune into the Minnesota Wild subreddit as well, because there were some replies from Wild fans in response to this trade here. The Friedman tweet was posted onto Reddit. Minnesota trades Frederick Gaudreau to Seattle for a draft pick. We know now it is just a 4th-round pick over here. But the top comment goes out there and says, I think that Frederick Gaudreau is a useful player, good skater, and you can play him anywhere in the lineup. But it's not the end of the world that he has moved either. If they can replace him with a Coyle or by keeping Rossi, I don't have a problem with it. I was hoping for a 2nd or a 3rd rounder, but it sounds like it's a 4th. The center depth this year looks like Eric Sennecke, Yurov, or Rossi Yurov, or Rossi Trenin or Hartman. I think that's pretty good, but if they trade Rossi for futures, it will be pretty weak. I'm sad to see Frederick Gaudreau go, and have been a staunch defender of him in recent years. I agree with this take of yours, though. This is less of a cap dump and more about opening a roster space and flexibility by discarding a guy who is pretty okay at a lot of things, but not electric in any one role. I'll tell you one thing that he was good at, the shootout. Yeah, he was definitely good there. But ultimately, Frederick Gaudreau is getting moved to potentially open up some roster opportunities for other Wild young guys and over to a team like Seattle that could definitely use more of that, just kind of filling out the lineup. I think this is a very good acquisition for them, especially at the cost, a 4th-round pick. That's the same as an Evander Kane. Okay, too soon? Too soon. Frederick Gaudreau, though, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you're a Wild fan or a Kraken fan. What are your thoughts on this guy getting moved? I also wanted to talk about the second trade we have seen today. Pierre LeBrun tweeted this out just about an hour ago. Cup champion Florida Panthers. They have acquired goalie Daniil Tarasov from the Columbus Blue Jackets. And the return is a late round pick. We don't know how late, but it is a pick here. One of the top replies says, I'm actually surprised they got anything for him. He wasn't very good at all in the last year and a half, Kenneth says. But let's dive into Daniil Tarasov and his profile to conclude that ourselves. Tarasov is 26 years old, 6'5", 196, left-handed catching goalie drafted by CBJ in 2017, 86th overall. He developed in Russia, was drafted out of Russia, and inevitably found himself bouncing up and down with the Blue Jackets and the Cleveland Monsters. He had a really good stint, in particular with Columbus, in his opening few games in North America. .937 save percentage in 4 games and a .240 goals against, playing a bunch of games in relief. He didn't win any of those games, but he was still at a .937. He'll always have that cap to hang his hat on. Is that the correct way to say it? Nah, that's definitely not the right way to say that. But anyways, continuing on with Tarasov and his development, he spent some more years going up and down. .892 save percentage with CBJ 22-23, .908 save percentage in 24 games in 23-24, so that's definitely an improvement. .318 goals against is not great, but the save percentage is actually more than fair. So you could definitely tell that the Columbus Blue Jackets didn't put Tarasov in the best positions to succeed in terms of the support they gave in front of him. They just tossed him to the Wolves. He let in a bunch of goals, but he still had a high save percentage because the Blue Jackets would be leaking shots. Now, this previous year, things definitely took a turn for the worst, as Tarasov had an .881 save percentage and a .354 goals against in 20 games. He definitely was not good this most recent season, statistically speaking. So the pick going back in exchange could be very, very late, but it turns out the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to be finding themselves a way to get some value for this guy. And it comes in the fact that the Florida Panthers want to give him a chance. How interesting is that? They already have Sergei Bobrovsky. He, of course, is a double-time Stanley Cup champion now. And if they wanted to get somebody to be, let's just say, Bobrovsky's protege, Daniil Tarasov, fellow Russian, could be thrusted into that role. Now, I don't think Tarasov is ever going to be as good as Bobrovsky, but still, if the Panthers see value in this kind of a pick, then okay, be my guest. The Blue Jackets, for your information, did get some very good goaltending out of Jet Greaves. He was the best goaltender up and away, but he was only playing in relief every few games here. Merzlikins had an .892 and Tarasov had an .881, so you can see the state of Columbus goaltending definitely isn't in a good spot right now. But with Daniil Tarasov getting the boot, getting sent over to a Cup championship caliber team in Florida, it will be interesting to pay attention to how his career ultimately goes. So with all that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these two trades? Frederick Gaudreau to Seattle from Minnesota for a 4th round pick, and you also have Daniil Tarasov from Columbus to Florida in exchange for a late round pick too. Thoughts in the comment section below about these two trades. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.